Welcome to Horror Review Sunday and happy early graduation day. So this movie came out in 1981 with all kinds of other slashers. This was during the slasher craze. And I saw this movie for the first time a couple of years ago. I did not rewatch it for my 1981 ranking because I knew it wasn't going to make the list because I was not big on this movie the first time I watched it. And rewatching it 2 years later, I'm still not big on this movie. It's just not that good. Now, this one was directed by Herb Fried. That's the guy's name. He did Haunts from 1976 and also Beyond Evil in 1980 with John Saxon and Linda Day George, the wife of Christopher George, who is in this movie. And if you want to check out Beyond Evil, it's not that great, but it's better than this movie. It's on YouTube right now for free, so you can go check it out. It's basically like an Amityville haunted house movie, possession type shit. And this one, like I said, it's a slasher movie, and the plot is simple. You got a killer on the loose killing everyone that's on this track team for reasons revealed later on. There's a girl in the opening who dies of a blood clot. And then all the other girls and guys on the track team are getting picked off one by one by a mysterious killer. Who could it be? Is it the coach? Is it the girl who died's sister who's now in town? You got some red herrings. Is it the principal, played by George Pataki? Is that how you say his name? The guy from like Rocky IV and Halloween 4. And the guy who directed The Hidden Gem of 1976, Mansion of the Doomed. I just saw that recently. Check that movie out. It's pretty good. So, yeah, let's just get into this. What do I like about this movie, Graduation Day? I like having Christopher George in here and George Pataki. I hope I'm saying that right. They're the best parts. They're the more seasoned actors. And George, not Christopher George, but George, he's kind of like the comedic character. He's got some wacky moments. Wears this tie and like tucked into his pants. I've never seen that before. It's a weird fashion style. But yeah, like I liked his character. He was the goofy principal, and they're, like I said, the best actors and the best characters in the movie. And there is a cheesy gimmick that the killer has in this film, where the killer has a stopwatch and tries to kill people within 30 seconds or like right at 30 seconds. So like when he's stalking someone, he'll hit the timer and then the person will die and then he'll like stop the timer. So it's just kind of funny. And it's extra funny later on because he chases this girl for like 3 minutes. And then when it's done, he hits the timer like he did it in 30 seconds. It's like, no, that took you like 5 minutes to kill her. That was not 30 seconds. You cheated. All right, so you didn't meet your 30-second goal there. And there's a couple of unique kills in this movie. Unfortunately, though, the effects aren't great, but there's 2 kills that stand out, and that's important for a slasher movie. There should always be at least one kill that stands out that's memorable. In this one, we got a couple. You got the football kill and the spikes kill. They're just funny and unique, and they definitely stand out. So I like those. And Linnea Quigley, I believe this is one of her first roles. Could be her first, I'm not sure. But she replaced an actress in this movie who refused to show her breasts. So Linnea stepped in, and we know she likes to show her breasts and everything. She was fine with that. So we get Linnea Quigley in this movie before she was ever trash in Return of the Living Dead. And we get to see her naked. So we get some TNA in this film. So that's always nice in a slasher. And that about wraps up all my positives. So getting into the negatives, what I don't like about this movie. I don't like the editing in this film. I thought the editor was on crack. The opening of this movie is like looking at a strobe light. It's just nauseating. Just cut, cut, cut. It's like flashing. If you took a drink every time there was a cut in the opening minute, you would die easily. Jesus Christ. And it's slow at times. This movie, it's not that long. It's only like 80 some minutes, but it feels slow at times in the middle because there's just so much padding. There's there's so much filler. Scenes that go nowhere. Scenes that are just redundant, unnecessary, and you could take them out and it wouldn't hurt the progression of the story at all. There's just scenes that feel so out of place. Anything with that music teacher you can take right out of this. Unless I'm wrong, explain it to me how I'm wrong, but that guy's not part of the track team. He's not a red herring. He's not a killer. Why are we spending so much time with this fucking music teacher? And why are we listening to a song by Felony for 7 whole minutes straight? Felony, yeah, that's the band in Jason Lives. You know that scene in Jason Lives where the girl's like, just don't come until the song's over. And he's like, how long's the song? And she's like, just another 10 minutes. It's funny hearing that because in this song, it really is like a 10-minute song. It goes on for at least 7 minutes. So it was just making me think of that joke in Jason Lives. I was like, this song, is that the song they're really supposed to be listening to in Jason Lives? Because this song in this movie by Felony really is like 10 minutes long. It just keeps going and going. And I remember the first time I watched this movie, it got to a point that I actually muted my television because I couldn't stand it. I sat through the whole thing this time, but I didn't like the song. So, also, obviously, this is low budget, so they didn't have a lot of locations. They kept going back from the school to this park, this hiking trail in broad daylight. There's not a lot of night shoots because, again, low budget. Obviously, they didn't have a lot of lights because later on at night, there's some day for night. But they just kept going back to the same trail, the same little stretch of park right next to the school. I just didn't like the setting. They just kept going back to it. Like, really, everyone at this school keeps going back to that damn trail. Like, let's go somewhere else. And there's some really bad use of POV in this film, and some POV that makes no sense. Like, it can't possibly be the killer's POV right now. It wouldn't work. It's also just poorly scripted. Like, there's no main character in the movie, really. The dead girl's sister comes into town. You think she's the main character, but really she's just another red herring. She's weird, and then she disappears from the film for a good portion of it. And anytime you see her again before the third act, she's just in the movie for maybe a few seconds to be weird again and not say much. So there's no actual main character that you latch onto and give a shit about that you like, that carries the story from beginning to end. Like the main, quote-unquote main girl, the sister, as soon as she's introduced, she just kind of disappears for a while, like I said. And it's like, well, who am I supposed to focus on now? Who am I supposed to care about? In this movie's case, nobody. And the effects in this film are terrible. The first slit throat kill is easily one of the worst slit throat kills I've seen in my life. It is god awful. And so, yeah, and the transfer for this movie was bad at times. They got extra grainy, really fuzzy at times. So, whoever did this, Vinegar Syndrome, they didn't do that good of a job. But I can look past that. That's not this film's biggest problem. That's just one small issue I had. So, final thoughts. This movie, to me, was just a cheesy, poorly made attempt at a gimmicky slasher that just fails to deliver on the gore, any suspense, or even likable characters. The movie's short, but to me it just is filled with superfluous scenes and bad POV, and is only really good if you're drunk with a group of friends. So when it comes to Graduation Day, I'm going to give this one 2 out of 5 stars. Alright, spoiler discussion. So in the opening, we got this sports montage, and everyone's jersey, not everyone, but 2 people, I swear, their jersey number just keeps changing on their shirt from shot to shot. And it's supposed to be the same day, same person wearing the same jersey, but the number keeps changing, so that was weird. And there's a cheesy-ass song playing over it, and it keeps cutting, every, 15 frames, just, cut every half second. You can't go a full second without a cut. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's all in slow-mo. And then, so this chick, Laura, has a blood clot and dies during a 30-second race. And then we meet our, I guess, main character, Anne. And she's in a car instead of a taxi. I don't know why she didn't take a taxi like she does at the end of the movie, but she's riding with this sleazy, perverted truck driver who puts his hand on her thigh and just keeps rubbing her thigh, squeezing it. And then she's like, remove your hand. And he's like, oh, I pay my taxes. So therefore, you owe me? Like, what? But then she like squeezes his nuts, and that gets him to stop. So more women should do that in movies. I always think that when I'm watching these horror films where girls are getting attacked and they have so much opportunity to like grab their balls or just kick them in the ball, like they never go for the nuts. But finally, somebody in this god awful slasher was smart enough to go for the nuts. Like, ladies, it's not that hard to do. It will take a guy down quickly. Just grab them by the nuts and squeeze them as hard as you can. They will let you go. Anyways, then we get the stopwatch kill. Oh my god. And they're making Anne look like a red herring because she sees this girl run out into the park and she's like, stop the car, pervert. And she gets out, she looks over, and then, after this kill, she has like the black gloves in her suitcase and the same like tracksuit. So they're just constantly making the main character a red herring. And I never bought it once. I predicted who the killer was. I'm not bragging, but it's so easy to predict who the killer is in this movie on a first watch. So, he starts a stopwatch, and then he chases after the girl. I didn't write her name down, but he grabs her by the back of the hair, and then he raises the switchblade, and already there's blood dripping off of it before he even makes contact with her, with the blade. It doesn't ever hit her before the blood. Like, there's blood on it already? That makes no sense. It was like bad editing. Like, maybe that was a shot that was supposed to be used after, but they used it before he ever slit her throat. But it looks like he's not even trying to slit her throat. It looks like he's trying to stab her. He's like going down, like he's stabbing her in the throat. But when we see the effect later, it's just like ketchup smeared across her throat, implying that he took it and just did that. But no, he was clearly like going up and down, up and down. It makes no sense. It's horrible. It is so badly put together. And so then, Anne, the sister, she's back in town for her dead sister's graduation. Well, she's dead. Do they still hand out diplomas and shit, like, to dead people's relatives? Like, she, I guess, graduated. No, she never graduated. She died a couple months before she could. So why is she visiting now? So she left Guam to go to her dead sister's graduation party, where she's not going to be because she's dead, but she didn't leave Guam a couple months ago to go to her dead sister's funeral? Like, that wasn't important to come to town for? Like, you would go to town for the funeral, not the goddamn graduation party. We get kind of a tropey thing here where the killer's Xing out faces. They did that in Texas Chainsaw 3D that I talked about recently. The whole, we're going to X out the faces, getting revenge. It's a trope, it's done 1,000 times. But interestingly enough, later on, before this woman's killed, her face is already getting X'd out. Like, the killer's like, I know I'm going to kill her eventually, so I'm just going to X her out right now before I kill her. Are graduation rehearsals even a thing? I don't remember going to one. And why would they be necessary? How difficult is it to just walk up to the stage after your name is called, shaking the jackass's hand and grabbing the diploma and walking your stupid ass off the stage? It's not that hard. So then we're introduced to Kevin, the dead girl's boyfriend, who looks like he's 40, but I guess he's 18. And so he's got this deaf grandma in the movie for some reason. Why that is important to the plot, it's not. Why does she have to be deaf? And why does Anne's stepdad have to be such a fucking dick? And why does her mom have to be putting up with that shit? Like, why do these characters have to be this way? I don't know. I thought it was funny that every single picture in Kevin's room of his girlfriend was her in track clothes, making it look like that's all she ever did was just track. That was her life. Like, he never got her, like, a picture of her on a date, her in a different outfit. It was just, like, clearly pictures they took on set during her death scene when she died in the opening. So apparently Christopher George is not only the track coach, but he's just the coach for everything. And one scene made me think that he's also like the shop class teacher. Like, is he like one size fits all? Like, you just hire one teacher and he just fucking teaches everything. He coaches everything. Like, this school has a very small staff. This guy is coaching the track team. He's coaching the girl with doing the gymnast stuff, the Final Destination 5 bars and stuff. Like, he's coaching everybody. So I just thought that was funny. Like, really? He's in charge of everything? So then this girl who looks like a fucking dwarf compared to these other two chicks in the locker room, she gets killed after shaving her leg in the sink. Why is she shaving her leg at school? Go home and do that shit. But anyways, so yeah, she gets killed by having like the sword or the fencing thing like put through her neck. And then I found it interesting that Pino Donaggio's name is written on the chalkboard in that one scene that doesn't need to be in the movie, but you can see his name written on the board, and that's because the director of this movie did Beyond Evil in 1980, and Pino Donaggio scored that film. And this is when we're introduced to Linnea Quigley, who is flashing her tits to her music teacher to pass class. And this whole sequence of events with this teacher can just be X'd out of the film, does not need to be here. So she flashes her tits to him. I guess she planted a tape recording, something is recording, their conversation. And then he goes into the boiler room to investigate what's making that noise in the pipes. And then we hear these two kids in the boiler room that were waiting for him because they knew that he would be going down there eventually. And they're playing the tape of his conversation with Linnea when she was trying to seduce him, flashing her tits. And then he goes down there and they leave the tape behind. So he just grabs the tape and then just takes it with him, and then that's it. No importance, does nothing. Like, what the fuck is this scene about? Like, what is so important here? Like, this wasn't the killer's doing. It's not like the killer planted that tape down there and he was luring him to the fucking boiler room so he could kill him. Like, he's only after people on the track team. So what this all is about is nothing. It's just filler. It's not funny. It's not scary. Like, what the hell are we doing here? So then they try to make the principal a red herring because he confiscates switchblades from bad students and then slices apples with them. So that makes him a red herring. Then we get this scene that's just so typical, like the hypocritical cop who's telling the kids, like, don't do drugs, or don't let me catch you smoking pot again, okay? And then they walk off, and then he just takes a joint out of the chamber of his gun and starts smoking it like a fucking hypocrite. So then we get the football kill, but I take small issue with this scene. I like the kill, but really, he didn't notice... He didn't notice this big-ass, like, bayonet sticking out of the football. He's like, give it to me. He's like, I'll give it to you, all right? Here, catch. And it's like, really? You would catch that? Like, you wouldn't just duck out of the way? You didn't see it? But here's the other thing. So there's these two girls that take the football from him, and we get some killer POV, the stalking from the bushes, to the right of frame. And then there's bushes to the left. And these two girls, they take that football, they throw it in the bushes to the left, and then he almost instantly goes for that football, but somehow the killer already teleported from the right all the way to that side of the park to grab the ball and almost instantly put the damn bayonet thing or spike on it. So how did he do that so quickly? How did he get around so quietly and fast? It doesn't make any sense. So then we get this scene with Felony playing their 10-minute song while people are roller skating. It looks very 1970s. And you got Linnea Quigley having sex with this guy, and then he goes to take a piss, and he gets decapitated while pissing. And then it would have been awesome if he started pissing on his severed head, like in Puppet Master Littlest Reich. But then Linnea finds his severed head, and it's already pale as fuck. his head did not look that pale when it was getting decapitated, but now he looks like he hasn't seen the sun in a long time. But then she's getting chased through the woods, and this is when it starts to look very day for night in certain shots. And then she starts to hide, and a random dog just starts walking by and barks real loud as it walks by, just to give away her position. And she screams. Usually you get cat scares, but now we got a random stray dog scare. But then he kills Linnea Quigley after a long, 3-minute chase, and then he stops the stopwatch. Yep, that was 30 seconds. No, it was not. Hell no. 30 seconds times 6. It was long. And it was an off-camera kill, so that's bullshit. And we see her severed head later on, but it was the other actress. It was the actress that she replaced, so it was confusing. I had to look it up. You see this severed head in the final chase, and it's some chick we've never seen. Come to find out, that's supposed to be Linnea's head, but it was the actress that she replaced. So then we get the other unique kill in this movie, and that's the guy who pole vaults and lands on the bed of spikes. All those spikes were just sitting down there. He didn't notice it until he was going over, because he screams on the way down, so he saw them. They were there the whole time, and he just didn't see them until it was too late. So then finally a body is discovered in the locker room of the dwarf girl, and so it makes it look like the coach is the killer, but obviously he's not. It's Kevin, and Kevin is confronting him and chases him out of there. But for some reason, the detective doesn't. He just stays behind, letting Kevin go chase off the killer so that he can stay behind and ask Anne a dumbass question. He grabs the photo of the track team with all the faces X'd out except for Kevin, the killer, and he asks Anne, do you know who these people are? And she's like, yeah, it's the track team. And then he's like, all right. So it's like, oh yeah, good information. You couldn't put that together yourself? This woman who's clearly in her 30s, she's not a student there, so why would you think she would know who these people are? A. B, clearly they're the fucking track team. Look at their outfits. Look at the picture. They're clearly a track team. And their faces are all X'd out to the point where you can't see their faces. So you wouldn't even be able to see who is who in that picture. It's such a stupid question. I don't get why he wasn't just chasing the killer right off the bat. So Kevin chases the coach back to the same park and trail that we've seen a dozen times in the movie. They keep going back there. And he gives him the big speech, the motive, and, I killed them all, and now I'm going to blame you, I'm going to frame you, or kill you right now and somehow get away with it. But then the cop shows up, George, they get in a struggle, he gets the knife from him, and he's about to stab him, or not even really, he just has it in his hand like this, right? He's just standing above him like this, and then the cop shows up, and doesn't say freeze, doesn't say drop the knife, doesn't give him a fucking fighting chance to protect himself, to explain himself. Nope, just hey, boom, boom, shoots him twice, dead. This cop's terrible. So then Anne finds out that Kevin stole Laura's trophy, so she's going to Kevin's to get it back, and that's when she finds Laura, her dead sister's body dug up and just sitting on his bed, and the killer is pushed out the window with the dead body, and he was talking about how they were going to get married, so that's why he's so pissed off. And when she's going down the stairs to go out the front door, she thinks Kevin's dead. Kevin just walks through the front door with the dead body, walks right past